Last week my co-worker turned an extremely embarrassing situation into an epic moment. What other situations have you seen go from awkward to amazing? My older brother was in a meeting with some clients. He is a lawyer. One of the clients, a rather dignified older lady, accidentally farted rather loudly. Seeing that she was extremely embarrassed, my brother leaned to one side and farted as well. Everyone laughed and my brother said, "Now that we have cleared the air, we can get to work." Now that is a gentleman. In high school I was a pretty typical, long-haired burnout and hung out with such. One of my buddies had a thing for this cheerleader, and one day a few of us we were in the hall and he spots her chatting with some of her friends. He's all, "That's it, I'm going to go ask her out." We all, of course, tried to tell him it wasn't a good idea, but he wasn't having any part of it. So, he walks over to her alone while she's still chatting with her friends and gives her this big smile and says, "Hey, I know we don't know each other that well besides from class, but I was hoping you would like to go see a movie with me sometime." She responds by literally laughing in his face and then says, "With you? I don't think so." This causes all her friends to start laughing as well. He simply keeps the smile and says, "Hey, thanks," and turns around to walk away. She yells, "I just turned you down, so why are you thanking me?" This, of course, gains the attention of everyone in the hall. He then points to us and says, "See those guys over there? They each bet me $5 that you're not as stuck up as you look." Years after HS we talked about that day, and he said that while he never did get that date with her, she always smiled and said hi to him whenever they passed. I really hope you each gave him $5, cause he totally earned it. Okay, long story. So get a cup of coffee. Mate and I were out on the town when we were deployed overseas. This is also an army story. I went out on town with him, being his wingwoman. We go around several pubs and I'm keen to go home, because I'm actually not that great a wingwoman and he hasn't scored yet. Then we get an invite to go back to this flat and drink. He ends up hooking up with a girl at the flat and I ask if I can crash on the couch. In the morning, he stumbles out of her room and heads for the bathroom. I get my stuff together and the woman comes out, asking if I want a coffee. Sure, I say, and sit at the breakfast bar while she makes coffee. My buddy comes out of the bathroom after a while and the woman and I are chatting. There's a coffee there for him and he gulps it down, while still extremely hot, and says we have to go. I tell him to chill out, but he's making the hand signal for hurry up. So I sip a bit more coffee, then make my apologies and leave with him. Turns out that in the bathroom, there was no toilet paper, so he used some underwear out of the laundry hamper to wipe his butt with, then put it back. I told him he'd ruined his chances of ever seeing that woman again and that we should try not to run into her again. But we did run into her again, at another pub the next weekend. She came running up to us, all smiles, and was keen on hooking up with my mate again. I asked her how she had been and she said, "Oh, not bad, but we had to kick out our flatmate. We found out he'd been wiping his butt on our laundry. I went and got a cup of chocolate milk. Frick the police." In high school I had an algebra teacher who might have been one of the coolest teachers I've ever known. But it was a hot afternoon and someone suggested opening the windows, so some kid yells to the window, then another, to the wall. Of course the teacher knows what is coming, so she gives the warning teacher look. But some smartest kid opens his mouth and adds, "Till the sweat drops down my balls." The class was in an uproar until the teacher yelled, "Now all you be crawl, right back to this math problem." In 12th grade I was an uncomfortably socially awkward geek. I sat behind a ridiculously attractive and popular boy in history class. We were somewhere between friends and acquaintances as we never hung out, but we were comfortable around each other. Anyway, one day we're placed into pairs and we have to play a Jeopardy-like game. I'm paired with said attractive boy, and we end up getting a few questions right. He goes in to fist bump me. I give him a high five. The most awkward silence of my life ensues. My cheeks are burning. I'm stammering, and then he laughs and says, "That's totally going to be our thing from now on." And it was awesome. I really liked that guy. Instead of going to high five him, you should have put your hands on each side of his fist and made a TIE fighter. I was a waitress when I was about 15. One night, the restaurant was packed out, and I was carrying several plates of food up the stairs in the middle of the restaurant to the balcony. Of course, I tripped, The food went flying and I landed flat on my face. I was so embarrassed, I didn't move for all of about 20 seconds. The whole place had gone silent, and I knew everyone was looking at me. I eventually got up, looked at the stunned faces of my audience and took a bow. All the customers cheered and clapped and I got more tips than I ever had before that night. I do this every time I smash a glass behind the bar. That or I look around and fake elevator my way out of the situation. On a high school band trip, about grade 10, sharing a hotel room with 3 other dudes, I realize I've got a severe case of the squirts. I spend the first 2 days not eating much and trying to take as much anti-diarrhea medicine as my body can handle, but by the 3rd day I'm starving, so I cave and eat some delicious A&W. That night at about 5 AM, sharing a bed with a pal, 2 other guys in the bed next to me, my butt just explodes while I'm sleeping. Just a full-on shitfest. I wake up before anyone else and embrace the horror of what has happened. If I can't somehow get out of this, I will be the guy who crapped the bed on the band trip for the rest of high school. Complete social suicide as I see it. But as luck would have it, no one had woken up yet. I move quickly and pull the sheets from under my still unconscious bunkmate, bunch them up so you can't see any of the crap covered parts, and put them outside the room for the mate to deal with. I take my boxers and rinse them as best I can in the bathtub and hang them up to dry, and get ready for the day. My roommates gradually wake up and start asking questions. Guy 1. Why did you put the sheets outside? Me. At the last hotel I stayed in, that's what we did. Guy 2. Why are your boxer shorts wet and hanging up? Me. I was so darn tired this morning, I got into the shower with them on. Can you believe that? Guy 3. Why does your side of the bed smell like you crap the bed? Putting their faces right on ground zero and giving a big sniff. I crap you not. Me. I've been pretty gassy this whole trip. I must have farted a lot in my sleep. Guys 1-3. Okay, I'm satisfied with those answers. Somehow, beyond all logic, my balls convinced them. In my final year of high school, I sat all 3 guys down, along with a few other friends, and told this very story. At this point, enough time had passed that it was just hilarious, plus my quick thinking had averted high school pariahism. This man is my hero. Anyone that can cover up an embarrassing moment with a Zap Brannigan reference is alright in my book. LOL. As a hot Korean chick, I can confirm that men like that are indeed the best. When I was in middle school, I was running the mile alongside one of my friends. He somehow managed to get our feet tangled up and we both began falling. But I was not about to let my face or hands run into the concrete. Oh no. Instead I managed to do an entire James Bond-esque somersault and hopped back up and began running again with not a bit of momentum lost. Best moment of my middle school years. A little preface. Here, I'm a DJ at a small strip club on the outskirts Portland, or we have no security, and quite often the task of ejecting rowdy customers falls upon either myself or my bartender. No offense to women, but my bartender is quite frequently a woman. While I'm certain that both the female bartenders I work with could very likely hold their own in a fight, what normally happens when a female, either directly or indirectly, incites a physical altercation with a man or group of men is that the violence is almost always deferred to the nearest male who appears to be in collusion with said instigating female. I actually know how to fight quite well, so this basically means that I'm pretty much the unspoken bouncer of the place when I'm here, should something go down. A few weeks ago a bunch of brotards, about 5 or so, rolled up into my club acting like they owned the place. Long story short, my bartender, the one I'm least sure could hold her own in a fight, kicked them out and it was basically up to me to convince them to leave without a physical incident. This might not have been a problem, except I had some exceptionally drunken, falling down customers who insisted on helping me kick these guys out. All these guys were really doing was edging me ever closer to getting my butt kicked by 3 guys. 2 of the group I was trying to eject were too drunk to fight and wouldn't have been a problem. I can fight, but I can't fight 3 people at once, and these dudes were on the bigger side. Cue the pushing and the shoving, tough guy routines, the whole 9. I'm in the middle of a 5-on-5 brawl that's about to break out into a game of Smear the Queer and I'm the one sucking dong. So anyway, we're in the parking lot and the drunkest of my backup customers decides, well, I have no idea what he decided. I think, in his head, he thought he was going jump over this jetter that was between him and some of the brothers and pull off some kind of super sweet action hero maneuver. What actually happened was that he just kind of spastically threw himself into the rear fender of the jetter and crumpled into a heap on the ground. Time stopped for a second and everyone busted out laughing at him for a solid minute or so. We finally stopped laughing and I told the Jaguars to leave and they did. They were dongs about it, but in all likelihood if it weren't for that kid trying to Jackie Chan one of those guys' faces and I would have had a serious situation on my hands. Thank you, random drunken moron. Thank you. Addendum, it occurs to me that a good friend and regular customer who wasn't quite so s-faced and is also no stranger to a scrap also had my back in the situation. Regardless, before the drunken master concussed his way to a standing ovation, we were looking at a full-on bar brawl. Then a wannabe helpful drunk tried to vault a jetter's trunk and thus averted a barroom blitz, so the whole pack of huge dongs laughed at the drunken aerobics and averted a barroom blitz. Barroom blitz. I was at a family dinner with two families from my dad's side. My cousin was 16 at the time. The rest of my family were talking about some guy and how they wish that she had dated him because he looked so lovely and was intelligent. My cousin is looking awkwardly into her plate and I can't have that. They bring up how it's a shame that he got shacked up with some girl because he got her pregnant. And I say, well clearly he wasn't that intelligent. He doesn't know how to use a condom. My family was stunned and my cousin was all smiles for the rest of the night. Way to stick up for her man. Going back to my school days and sports. Now, I hate sport. Truly, freaking hate it. I'm no good at it, I have no interest in watching it, it just bores me. I'm not exactly unfit, just quite scrawny. And as it goes in school, those who were into their sport hated me. We were doing long distance running, and me hating the idea of running. And with no teachers around part of the course, I skip a big chunk out. We were doing staggered starts, and I misjudged slightly and ended up getting one of the top 3 times, earning me a place in the top 3, and a chance to run on the sports day. Crap, all the kids who hated me complained like heck to the tutors, but they were having none of it, and entered me regardless. So, I find myself on sports day, warming up to run the 1,500 meters. Crap. All the other runners were properly into their sport, had decent running gear, isotonic drinks, energy bars and the like. I had a bottle of water and a banana, and was wearing Converse and swimming shorts. My plan was to make it look like I was trying hard, then fake a sprained ankle or something and duck out once I got too tired. As we lined up on the line, I suddenly thought, frick it, how hard can it be to run 1,500 meters really fast? The gun went, and I pretty much sprinted off the line, and didn't slow down. After the first lap of 4, it started to hurt. I ignored it. Second lap, still in first, really hurting now. Third lap, I wasn't thinking now, just running for dear fricking life. Fourth lap, and the guy in second passes me. Frick it, I've got this far. How much more can it hurt? I full on sprint the last lap. By now my body is aching so much I can barely see straight, but I keep on going. On the final straight, I pass the guy, pummel myself over the finish line, and pass out. A couple of minutes later I wake up, proper confused, and ask what the heck happened. Find out I won, and just laugh. I still have the trophy and certificate somewhere. Now, to make all this relevant to the topic, I found out, a year or so later, that the tutors all knew I'd cheated and entered me into the sports day to teach me a lesson. They wanted me to crash and burn in front of everybody, and they'd told the other students this behind my back. Granted, I did crash and burn, but only after I'd finished the race. Nobody could quite believe it, and I royally pee off the other runners who all seriously gave a crap about coming first. They hated the tutors after that. The lesson. Dear reader, don't enter kids and sports days for a laugh. They might just decide they actually want to win. This is something that was absolutely motivating to read. Thank you. One day, when I was in 9th grade or so, I was standing outside the PE lockers and I was conversing with 2 hot girls, one of which I had a crush on, and then a random douchebag runs behind me and pulls down my shorts. I was mortified. I just stood there as the girls stared at me. Right then, when my pants were still around my ankles, another guy pulls down his pants and says, "Hey, I have those boxers too." Then his friends started pulling down their own pants and comparing boxers right in front of everyone. That is one of my fondest memories in high school. Not really the most embarrassing story, but it comes to mind, so I'll tell it. I was an overworked, underpaid busboy at a crappy establishment that were always such b if any plates got broken. They totally exaggerated the cost of their dishes to try to deter me from being so flippant about their breaking. It was minimum wage though, so I never gave a frick. Anyway, I was collecting a couple from the dining room and they must have slipped from my grip or something and shattered on the floor. A bunch of diners stopped what they were doing, looked at me, and it was that silent awkward moment where everyone pretends like it's a big deal. But I defused it by waiting a beat and then saying, "Well, at least now I don't have to wash them," and everyone started laughing. Not spectacular, I know, but I felt slightly triumphant. Got too drunk. Touched my best friend's girlfriend's boob. Next morning my group of friends confronts me about it. I reply I was just looking for a slap and a pickle. Hilarity ensues. I followed that with an apology, naturally. You know what would be terrifying? If a bunch of foreign soldiers burst in on me while I was naked, shining flashlights and holding things that look like guns. Me and my pal were the last ones left on a night out, and the intention was to head to his house and just crash there as it was closer. We decided we'd get another beer and stay for a short while before heading off. This woman comes over and she ends up coming back with us. I slept on the couch and he took her into his room. He woke me up the next day. She had left and he was saying, "Have a look at this." I went into his bedroom and there was crap all over his sheets. He stuck it up her poop chute, and when he pulled out, a barrage of crap followed. Being so drunk he ignored it and fell asleep on the floor. She must have left soon after that of her own accord, but before she left she wrote her BlackBerry pin and the crap on the bed. He added it and they were dating for a while. I thought it was truly brilliant. She didn't have a pen, so she improvised. Definition of brilliant. 1. Very bright, glittering, a brilliant light. 2. Striking, distinctive, a brilliant example. B. Distinguished by unusual mental keenness or alertness. I just wanted to make sure I understood the definition of the word brilliant, because I do not believe writing your number in crap qualifies. I played HS football. One day we were having a team BBQ and running around like fools, distracting each other while someone came from behind pulling their pants down. There was one kid who didn't talk much, and we decided to get him. Pulled down his pants to reveal his whitey tighties. Instead of scrambling to pull them up embarrassed, he put his hands on his hips, puts up his chin and says, "I'm not ashamed," as proudly as you can imagine. He was our new favorite person afterwards. 2 stories. 1. This was like 10 years ago, when I was a cadet. We work in Civil Air Patrol. One requirement to become an officer is a dump down boot camp style event called encampment. Anyway, we had this one cadet, let's call him Cadet Snuffy. He was notorious for taking the longest latrine breaks of anyone. One night, during free time, we had a fire drill, so everyone runs out and forms into their units and start making sure everyone was there. Receiving the report, welp, Snuffy wasn't there, so my unit starts wailing about how Cadet Snuffy died honorably in the blaze. Poor Snuffy, he died in the fire. So while we are doing that, we hear, wait, I didn't die. I put the blaze out and out runs Snuffy carrying used Charlotte paper he dumps into a nearby trash can. Turns out he was on the latrine and ran down 3 stories while cleaning himself and pulling his pants up in under 90 seconds. To again we work. I was staffing an encampment. I was flight sergeant. During free time, our flight commander was with us in our barracks. The flight CMDR starts talking about chicks, all male flight, in graphic detail, and then goes, "Oh crap, I forgot to ask, is anyone 12?" One cadet goes, "I am 12. So the flight commander replies, "Go stand outside. I want to talk about chicks." Poor cadet had to stand outside for an hour. This happened back in high school. I was chatting with some friends during lunch, when while leaning back in my chair, the legs break off and the chair collapses. Everyone heard and looked at me, so I picked up the chair in one hand, the legs in the other, and stooped round with the most triumphant expression I had. The whole cafeteria cheered and clapped for me. My favorite teacher was one of the lunch monitors that period, so he came over and took the chair while I tried not to burst out laughing. So after all that, I grab a new chair, sit back down with my friends, and continue, as I was saying, and then we all starting lodging. Every time I'm left hanging I high five myself. Also if I see someone else left hanging and I am significantly inebriated bored I will swoop in and high five them while yelling interception. In college we could go to a larger city to drink and look at hopefully hook up with ladies. We would rent a room, go to the local douche attraction, and I would typically drink too much and forget about girls, and go to the room trashed. My friend once hooked up with a lady and I went back to the room alone. Later that week he realized he got the clap, went to the health center and got the pills and mailed some to her. 6 months go by, we do the exact same thing and he finds the same girl and hooks up with her again. Bingo, you guessed it, he got the clap again. I just think of that crap and laugh. In college, I was at a dance bar and walked up to a fairly hot chick who I had a few classes with and asked, hey, would you like to go dance? She was with a group of her friends. She looked at me, rolled her eyes and said, I don't think so, very condescendingly. Without even missing a beat I said to her, I'm sorry, I think you misunderstood me. I said you look fat in those pants, and walked away. One time they had to place me on third base in a softball in school, and I suck at ball games but they have to let everyone play each position and no one was happy I was third. Then there was a fly ball and they said to let it go foul but I caught it. I was king of the world for 30 seconds. Hanging out with my friends in a loud bar, I grab one of my buddies and walk up to a group of girls on the dance floor. As I walk up to the girl in charge of the other girls, I walk up and as everyone has eyes locked on me, I ask loudly over the music, hey, do you want to dance? The girl then turns her head and looks to her friends as to say, I'm about to crush this kid. She looks at me and yells over the music, no. I then put my head closer to pretend I could hear what she said over the music and make her repeat it. She says no a second time. I say even louder than before, no, I don't want to dance. I said you look fat in those pants as I point to butt. Then without missing a step I walk to the other side of the dance floor. The look on the girl's face, I could feel her mouth drop from around the corner. The whole group not only left the dance floor for the rest of the night, they left the bar shortly after. My buddy went back and told the rest of our group. It was one of many highlights that spring break week. Stuff of legends. In one of my ancient history classes we were having a Sparta versus Athens debate. My group was Sparta. As the debate progressed my group got less and less interested and eventually began answering every question with something along the lines of, oh yeah, well try and go to war with us. You didn't think so. Go read a book. Try not to diddle any children while you're at it. The teacher began getting less patient with our group and finally decided to call it quits. She yelled at our group for about 5 minutes. We were all pretty irritated like 18-year-olds get when they get embarrassed in front of their peers. She said, okay, now you each prepare a final statement right before the bell. Since I was the leader of the group I had to stand and speak for Sparta. My exact words were, we might not be the brightest Greek state, because all we do is fight and conquer the others, but I'd rather be a dumb oaf than send my kid out to play with Play-Doh all day. That's pretty great of him to turn that onto a funny situation. You really could have felt like a dong blocking douchebag without that save. Was late for the class, running late, tried to sneak in as quietly as possible and sat on the chair in the corner. Well, the chair was broken and I fell right down. Probably should mention majorly all guys in the class and I am a girl, and the prof gave me a look like, and this is my tay really? Anyways, this guy nearby sort of laughed and said, yay, the same thing happened to me in the morning. Not epic, but definitely took some stress off. I was in year 10 and was in a pay lesson. Now I never liked those classes before. Didn't really the because I wanted to play football but had to do the girl sports. Anyway, because of doing karate and taekwondo non-stop all summer, I had become extremely good at sports. Now we were just sprinting across the field, but it was a little damp and I lost my footing and slipped. Everyone began to laugh. They were mostly all behind me, until they realized I had gone straight down into front splits. I had one foot in front, one behind. I just jumped back to my feet and carried on running to everyone's surprise. I ended up with the nickname Ninja by the end of the year. I had girls complaining they couldn't do pay with me because I was too good or too rough. They were all wimps. On my first day back from the summer, our year group was merged with the crap school up the road, in front of a load of people. My new form. I decided to jump this wall as a shortcut. I somehow didn't quite make it, catch my foot and fall. I turned it into a roll and just carried on walking like nothing had happened. Half the class were laughing at me, the other half were impressed that I didn't complain about falling, having a huge bruise on my arm. I was hanging outside of the computer room one lunchtime. I had nowhere else to go and the room was closed. A group of other kids were there as well. So they decide the fun thing to do would be to push me inside the male teacher's toilet after one had gone in. They charged at me, forcing me into the corner. They then opened the door next to me to trap me next to the toilet door. They tried to push one door into the other, forcing me into the male toilet. I somehow managed to squeeze off out the tiny gap and they fell into the toilet instead. I turned around and burst out laughing as they retreated, red-faced with an angry teacher behind them. Most of the time when embarrassing things happened, I wasn't bothered by it and just shrugged it off. I get more embarrassed when I say something stupid than when I do something stupid. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.